Welcome again, everyone, to the Manument Podcast, hosted by Glenn Johnson, registered investment advisor at Jabez Financial. He's the founder of The Joint, too. Get in touch with Glenn and the team at jabezfinancial.com. He's got a great, strong group working right around him here. Iron sharpens iron. And they want to help that retirement portfolio grow, help you feel more confidence. We can't guarantee it, but we can try to help you feel more confidence as you step in and toward retirement. The silver wave is underway, all right, as the baby boomer generation has been retiring. Gen X is now approaching retirement as well, and you want to be set in the right spot. So go to 860-390-0093 or jabezfinancial.com. Click the contact form and get on the calendar with Glenn Johnson and the team. We've talked recently on our shows that you can find, by the way, on Apple, Spotify, iHeart, and jabezfinancial.com about having too much self-reliance and not reaching out for help when you need to, about having the right, crucial, and even hard conversations, of course. And then last episode, we talked about how to manage whether the seasons of life you're having are not matching up with the seasons of the economy and what happens when you have some dissonance there. Glenn has both some tips, both life coaching and financial, to make sure that you're in the right spot. But before we get to today's topic du jour, need to check in on you, Glenn. How you doing?
I'm doing great and getting better. I'll tell you, that your attitude's a decision. It doesn't make everything perfect, but it makes everything better than it would have been. in
the hardest time of my life, and I won't get into when that was, about 7 years ago, and among other things, divorce was happening, okay? And I had to make the decision every day, hey, God, I'm your vessel today. I don't know why I feel this. I do know why I feel this way. I don't know why I'm going through this right now. Just help me to put 2 feet on the ground and make this your day. And then some of those days really hurt, but that just helped me get my 2 feet on the ground because I really want to stay in bed, and then we'll go from there and help me shine your light. That's basically, I just had to do that. And did the Lord lead me through? Yes, he did.
Well, you know what? I'll tell you, when you're thinking and speaking and acting in the will of God, there is no better result.
Amen.
And so as hard as things may be, if we're doing things correctly, that's the best possible set of circumstances there can be.
Yeah.
And so with that, anything other than living with joy is a negative choice.
Right.
So we can be happy and joyful through all experiences. And this is where there's so much to learn. There's so much to learn with every season. There's so much to learn from every investment win, every loss, every piece of it. So if we're not extracting the wisdom out of the hardship, now it's just painful. So we take these painful experiences, not just financially, but throughout all of life's experiences, we can extract the wisdom out of it, and life continues to get better and better and better.
Well, that's correct. If you don't learn from it, it's a wasted adversity, okay? And really, that in a way, that's where we're going to get to today. We're going to talk about, even though we're in the throes of summer now, if you're listening in our episode cycle, we're going to talk about the idea of spring cleaning, Glenn, and basically trying to make sure you're using the right tools for the right season in life or season in the year, or whichever it is, and also not getting cluttered up or weighed down by the tools that aren't there to help you. So can you unpack that a little bit?
Right. Well, so when we talk about spring cleaning or summer cleaning, as the case may be, and it's cleaning out every time we go from one season to the next. There's always things that were really useful and helpful and applicable and successful in one season that no longer serve us in the next. And because they were so successful and so helpful during a period of time, we tend to hang on to them longer than we should. And this is where we have to go through and really analyze. We look at that item that's in the garage, or if we look at that way of thinking that we've had, or if we look at that particular investment that we had that did so well at one time. When we get rid of something, when we let something go, that does not mean we're diminishing its value.
Yeah.
We're just recognizing that we're no longer at that season in life for it.
And that's the thing. And sometimes you got to let it go, or it's just time to put it in storage till you need it again, right? Now,
or even use it differently.
Yeah. And I liked when we were kind of planning for this, and you were talking about the gear you need for different seasons. It's like, if you're going swimming, do you need your boots from spring when you're in the swimming pool in summer, right? I mean, of course, summer hike is good depending on the part of the country, but you probably don't want to be hiking in the heavy humidity or something like that. So, I mean, that really paints it. So let's talk about two specific areas where you might, need to sequester, if you will, the tools that you have. All right. So there's investments. Let's start there. We're going to go on the financial side, the life side, not life insurance,
Right.
but the life side. Okay. So the investment
Right.
side, let's talk about that. Things that may have worked well at a different time that aren't so great now.
Okay, let's let's take a look at buying stock just right out of the gate.
Sure.
If we're just looking at buying stock, there's primarily two different types of companies. There's companies that want to have their share prices increase in value. They want their share prices to go from $10 a share to $15 a share. So that's a growth-oriented company. Then there's companies, they want their share price to go from $10 to maybe $11, but pay a $4 dividend. That's a company that's geared towards income. So you've got growth and income, because when you invest, there's two different types of income. There's capital appreciation, which is the increase in value of the stock. And there's income, which is the dividends that the companies are paying. So let's say you bought a great growth stock in 1982.
Yeah.
Or even in the late 80s, early 90s. And that share price went from $10 to $90 a share. That was fantastic. But it wasn't paying much in dividends, but it increased in value tremendously. That was a great stock to have at the right time. However, at a point, if the company doesn't start earning a profit, the share price will eventually go down. And this is where, as the next season changes, well, maybe that stock's not the one to have. Maybe you'd be better off buying a stock that's only going to go from $20 a share to $20.50, but is starting to consistently pay a dividend. So there's seasons when we want to have income-oriented investments, and there's seasons that we want to have growth-oriented investments. And that's where we have to be able to realize that, hey, you know what? We just had this fantastic run from 2009 to today. The market's grown like crazy. And we look at our statements, and every one has just been going up. Yeah, there's been some volatility, but it's still been in an upward moving trend for 16 years. And we just want that to keep going. However,
however,
seasons change.
Yes.
Seasons change.
Yes.
Allocations need to change. And if we're not, we have to remove our emotional attachment from those particular holdings and realize that, say, okay, it's no longer the right thing to do.
Right.
And we've got to clean some of those out.
In Ecclesiastes, where Bob Dylan drew the lyrics from for turn, 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 right?
That's
right. And I
right.
know the Byrds made that famous, but that's, again, it's just the conveyor belt never stops. Seasons do change. You're not going to have the same stuff. We're not going to unpack this right now, but hey, there were stories out in Q3, Q4 of last year about, hey, the Magnificent Seven or the meh seven now. Technology stocks, Nvidia had the big sell-off at one point. So you can't stick with it. You're always going to have to make tweaks to your plan. What I want to know is, and we're going to move quickly to the relationships part before wrapping up the show, but staying with investments, I'm sure you have stories of people, Glenn, when they come to you at 860-390-0093 or fill out the contact form, jabezfinancial.com, where they came to you, they had that first comprehensive look at their retirement portfolio, and it was complimentary. And you pointed out something that they had no idea was quote unquote stale, right? Mm-hmm. I'm sure there's those stories.
Oh yeah. Happens all the time. I can ask this. So I'll ask them, I'll say, okay, well, why did you get these investments in the first place? And they say, oh, well, they did great. I'm like, okay, great. No, why are you keeping them?
Right.
And that conversation that they've had, that when they first opened up their accounts and first established them, well, they're not having those conversations anymore with their financial advisor. It's like they'll have that initial one. Maybe it was set up well initially. However, the conversations haven't continued because a financial advisor, if you've made a recommendation, it's done really well, they're not necessarily going to want to rock the boat by calling up and say, yeah, you know what? It's time to get out of this, and here's why. They're not necessarily having the conversations with the clients. All they do is they recognize some changes in their holdings or lots of activity, some buys, some sells, and they say, well, I guess he's doing his job. But the idea is it's important to stay informed.
Yeah.
You should always know why you have what you have. And when you understand why, that's what brings the financial peace.
That's exactly. You got to know the why. I always want to know why my parents are telling me stuff. Sometimes to my detriment. Okay, but that's it's in a way kind of the same thing. So what we're going to do here, because we've talked about seasons of change and when to hold on to things, basically when to hold them, when to fold them. Right? If we're just going to keep going with the song references, there's Kenny Rogers. Okay, but look, what I want to do is take the relationships piece, everyone, and let's put that to our next episode. Okay, because that could be a whole thing, and trying to squeeze that into 2 to 5 minutes, I don't think does it justice here. So we're going to talk about seasons of change and when and what and who to hold on to in our next episode. So stick with that. Be sure you have your subscription turned on or notifications turned on so you know when that episode drops. But before we get out of here, Glenn, now this episode dropped on July 1st. So people that are hearing this may only have a day or two to respond. But we have the Celebrate Freedom event at a place that's special to you. So talk about it, please.
It is the Manumit Freedom Farm in Oakdale. We've got 23 acres of land, and way up in the middle, we've cleared about a land where we actually have a chicken, kind of like a chicken farm.
Heck yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Well, that's what I say. It's not technically a farm. It's technically just land. But you know what? If we're growing freedom, we're farming.
So we're turning chicken something into chicken salad. Is that what you're?
That's right.
Well, there will be food.
Chicken soup, actually. My pastor's looking forward to whacking some of these chickens and making chicken soup
Fantastic.
out of it. So
okay.
It's coming.
I'm not going to balk at that. So Celebrate Freedom, and it's on July 4th at 6 p.m., and you're going to have, besides good food, what we're going to have?
The best part that we're going to have is excellent company.
Heck yeah!
So we're going to have food. We're going to have food. We'll have, and actually bring a dish. Bring a dish to share. We're also going to have it catered, but we'll have all the yard games that you're familiar with out in the field. Campfire, marshmallows, and something special after dark. So
I love it.
We got a lot to look forward to. So contact the office or email Kayla at kml@jabezfinancial.com to register, because we definitely need to have a head count.
Well, we know that people can listen anywhere in the world at any time, but the Manumit Freedom Farm in Connecticut is at 24 Norwich Salem Turnpike, and that's in Oakdale. RSVP to KML. That's Kayla's email address, KML@jabezfinancial.com. You can also call the office too and register your spot. 860-390-0093 as we're coming right up on the holiday here and want to make sure you are a part of that. Well, Glenn, thanks for making time today, and we look forward to learning more about the crucial and the status of relationships and how they can help you out here on our next show. So thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Is our registered investment advisor and founder of Jabez Financial. I'm your co-host, Doug Turnbull. Big thanks to all of you for listening, and thanks to our producer, Rob Scott, on the ones and twos for getting this thing published and put out. If you have more questions about Glenn at Jabez Financial and the chapter he authored in the book, The Motivation Manifesto, go to jabezfinancial.com. Have a great day. Happy 4th. Remember, this freedom wasn't free, and we'll talk to you soon again here on A Word That Means Freedom, the Manumit Podcast.
Investment advisory services offered through Jabez Financial, LLC, a registered investment advisor firm. Registration is not an endorsement by securities regulators. By contacting us, you may be provided with information about insurance products, including annuities, offered through Glenn Johnson, Connecticut Insurance, license number 4628409. The firms are separate entities. Annuity guarantees rely on the financial strength and claims-paying ability of the issuing insurance company and are not offered by Jabez Financial, LLC. Read your contract for restrictions, limitations, or penalties. Jabez Financial, LLC is not licensed in all 50 states. To find out if Jabez Financial, LLC is licensed in your state, please call 860-390-0093.